Hey, folks, welcome to the Accessible Hunter podcast. I'm Greg Trainer, along with my co host, Mike Hudson. We're sure glad to have you on today. We're going to be talking with our good buddy again, Coy Varnum, and see what's going on down south and what he's been up to hunting this season. But first, Mike, what's going on in South Carolina, brother?
Man, we're just enjoying the weather today, man. It's beautiful outside. Of course, the turkey are still out there acting a fool, even though our hunting season's ended. But that's just the nature of the beast. You know, you see deer during turkey season, turkey during deer season, vice versa. It never pans out, but all we can do is keep up that chase, man.
Man, I only got out one time for spring turkey. I was working on a bunch of other projects and
Yeah.
meant to get out, but we've had so much rain here. I know that's an excuse, but me and my wife got out for one day of spring turkey with my crossbow, and we weren't able to harvest anything. But man, it was sure a good time to be out. We enjoyed being in the blind together, and maybe this fall we'll be able to get a turkey. They come back in here in PA, but the season's just ending here in Pennsylvania. The first 2 weeks we got half a day hunting, and then the second 2 weeks we could hunt all day. But we're going to be getting after it in the fall, I guess, because we didn't tag out in the spring.
You know, that's what's crazy about life. As a younger guy, man, my whole life was about hunting every day. And it
Yeah.
seems like now life gets in the way of my hunting.
it,
So, we
it
got to kind of figure out that passion and see if we can make those two coincide pretty well together. But man, as of late, life has been jumping all over my hunting seasons.
but
And it quickly dissolves that season into like one or two hunts.
buddy, I am right there with you. I used to be so tore up with it that I would hunt every day, take vacation days. Now it seems like, we got
Yeah,
grandkids to watch, we got, projects to work on, and I don't even mind it anymore. I mean, 20 years ago, I'd have been losing my mind if I only got out once hunting, but heck, I just enjoyed the time out. But Coy, man, what's going on with you this morning?
no, we're getting a little rain here in South Alabama, so we needed it. It was dry and dusty and pollen and everything, so we're thankful for it. Thankful for it.
Well, man, we appreciate you coming on the podcast again. You're our go-to guy. We love talking with you. We have you on, our other podcast, Accessible Pursuits, and try to have you on a couple times for Accessible Hunter. And for the people that haven't heard you speak before, you want to maybe introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your disability, and we'll get into hunting stories.
Yeah, I'm Coy Varnum, uh, born and raised right here in South Alabama, Northwest Florida. And at 17, I was diving in the creek and broke my neck, and that was June 26, 1976, and we're just pressing on and taking each day with a stride as we can get it, Greg, and make the most of it.
You know, that's one of those things, man. Coy's one of those guys as a quad, man. You know, he's been around for a good long time, and you guys heard his date right, 1976. Coy's been doing this for a long time and successfully doing it. And he's one of the go-to guys when me and Greg are trying to figure out gun vices or ways to do things. Coy's already been there, done that, you know, and he's able to get after it. And I know, dude, it ticks me off. Alabama's season is so much longer than ours.
It is.
Starts earlier and it goes longer. And I'm like, I guess they think we're just gonna be quick shooters. We got to get in there and get it. But how'd you do this spring on turkey, Coy?
I was blessed. I was able to kill a gobbler. He was a long way off. My nephew was with me, and he said, "Hey, come on, I know where one's at." So he had fixed me up, and we got in there well before daylight. I mean, it we didn't use a light going in. It was dark, Mike, but we knew the area was going in, and we
Mm-hmm.
got set up. And he said, "I think we're in a good situation." He said, "Because if they're not below us, they're behind us, then they should come by." And so as daylight cracked, man, they went to gobbling. They was hammering. I said, "Boy, I got excited. My legs went to jumping, and I had to settle down
No,
a bit." And we was able to. He was down there at the bottom, about 600 yards away, and he had a hen. And he liked my call, but he wasn't leaving the hen. I said, "Well, that's
oh
all
yeah, yeah.
I got all day. I got as long as it takes." And around 10 o'clock, I looked down and that booger didn't have a hen, and I called, and here he come. And it took him about 45 minutes to get up there to us, and able to catch one in, and sure was blessed, I tell you.
Boy, turkey hunting will teach you patience.
Yes.
If you want to be successful, as a quadriplegic, I mean, we can't run and gun anymore like we used to. So turkey hunting will teach you patience, and if you sit long enough, if you let that gobbler, get off the hens that they're working, they will come back to your call. But I think a lot of guys will call a couple of times, we don't get any response, and we think, hey, the show's over, and you get up to move, and that's whenever you get busted half the time.
Yep. A lot of guys, they if they're not gobbling, if they're not hearing anything, by 8 o'clock they're done back at the house. And learn over the years, man, them turkeys have patterned them, and they know. And so I'm reaping benefits. If they're not out there hunting, I'm staying, man, because I've killed a lot of birds between 10 and 2. A lot of.
Yeah. That's one of the things we're trying to push too. I know in Georgia and South Carolina, we're trying to extend the seasons just a little bit. Georgia has a disability season. South Carolina does not, and so we're trying to get the governor and some of the other folks to see. We're not trying to ask for permission to get out there extra early, but as quadriplegics and people in chairs, we can't run and gun like we used to. And so if we can get out right before mainstream hunters really inundate the woods, it gives us just another day maybe to try to get on the birds a little. Are you seeing any of that in Alabama?
Well, we have now on the Geneva State Forest is a management area.
Right.
They start. We as disabled hunters can start one day early. And then I think overall, in general, we get to hunt a day early before. And you say, well, that's enough. Well, if the gobblers are cooperating, it is. But at least 3 days, man, it'd be great to just have 3 days.
We have a youth season here in PA that they get to go out a week early, but just for one day.
Yes.
But that does make a big difference unless it's cold or rainy or what have you. And then, they're thrown in with everyone else. And I've been working recently with the state senator trying to get, people with disabilities out a little bit earlier, along with the youth. And I think that's a challenge that we can, get the game commission to cooperate with that. The idea is to get people with disabilities out hunting and to let them be successful. And I think a day or maybe 3 days early would be wonderful.
Yes, it'd be great because we got, I don't know, but Pennsylvania and South Carolina probably have a lot of turkey hunters too. But Alabama, full of them, and as non-resident as well as resident. And when season opens up, it's full bore.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's what we're trying to raise awareness on. Is there's only limited spaces that we can get to, regardless of chair. We can get in there with track chairs or different type stuff, but those things are loud, they're cumbersome. But there's only limited space we can go to, and some of the able-bodied guys have more opportunity at different parts of land that we just can't access. And so we're just trying to get in there like the youth, and be able to spend some time.
Right.
You got to pattern these birds. They're a wild creature, and you're not guaranteed anything.
No.
Mike, you had mentioned equipment, and Coy, you had said that bird was a long way off, 600 yards. What kind of calls do you like to use, Coy? What equipment are you using?
I like a box call, like it carries with the wind. It's a high pitch. I've got slate calls that I like, and then I have a mouth call that I'll use, 3 or 4 of them that I'll use when he gets in close, because you guys know their eyesight is so keen to you better not move
Right.
He's going to be putting and leaving the area. And but the box call and slate call will really reach a long way to them, just to get to hear it. And then when they close in, well, then we can switch to something else. But that's the 3 calls I like.
I'm right there with you, Coy. I can run a box call. As quads, we got
Yes.
limited hand dexterity, but the box call I can run pretty good. Slate, I don't ever feel like I can get enough downward pressure to really get that chirp, get that high pitched sound out of it. And man, mouth calls are hit or miss for me because some of them tickle the roof of my mouth something fierce, and man, I'm over there choking more so than being able to call a bird. So I'm trying to work on being able just to do it with my mouth, when they're up close, just to keep that interest.
I'm fortunate that I can use a diaphragm call, but because of my lung capacity, as quads, we don't have full capacity with our lungs and our diaphragm. So I get a little wore out pretty quick, just talking, let alone trying to project a long way off. So I started to try to use a box call made in PA here this year. And I know a lot of guys growing up use box calls, but I definitely can't use a slate call. I'm like you, Mike. And here in PA, I asked for a special exception to get a permit to be able to use an electronic call. Now, most guys can't use electronic calls for turkey hunting in PA, but with my disability, I got an exception, so I can use the electronic call or the diaphragm. And my wife uses the box call, for me. If it's far off, like you were saying, Coy, I don't think you can beat a good box call to reach out there.
Well, it's amazing. We were talking about turkey hunting, and one of the best turkey hunters I know just walked in here, and he's a good brother, and I'm telling you, he can turkey hunt. He knows how to do it. I've learned a lot from this guy already, and he can. He's a gobbler's nightmare.
Well, get that guy on camera, Coy. Invite him in here. Let's talk with him a little bit.
Hey, brother. He's right here. This is Lucas Edison.
How you doing? How you doing, Lucas?
Morning.
Nice to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too.
We hear you're a gobbler's nightmare.
He is, brother.
We do like to get after him.
Hey, man, that's what it's about. Brotherhood, being able to get in the woods and talk the language and give them the words they want to hear.
That's right.
Yes, sir, man.
We were talking about favorite turkey calls. You got a favorite, a box or slate, or what's your go-to gobbler killer?
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm?
Yes, sir.
He'll work one to death with it. I ain't lying to you now.
We either got to get down to Alabama or you got to get up to PA, because my calling ability, I'd like to say I'm call challenged, because most of the time I scare the birds away. If I set up my decoy and just sit there long enough, I got a better chance of killing one than if I start talking to them.
We all probably think that at times.
I'm like Coy, I try to get out there and do all of it. And as a quad hunter, I'm trying to video my own hunt, call a bird, use my shotgun, and you got limited hand movement and all that. It's just a glutton for punishment, dude. And it's just hard enough to trick one of these birds. And I don't know why we decided to hunt these suckers, because they will flat wear you out. Talking about trying your patience, they'll test your religion someday.
How many times, guys, have we said to ourselves, man, that guy can't call for crap. I don't know who that hunter is, but he sounds awful. And then you'll see the hen walk by, and it's a live hen making that sound. And I'm quick to judge whether it's good or bad or indifferent. And half the time the hen sounds like a guy that, hasn't called in his life. Maybe I'm not as bad as what I think I am then sometimes.
Well, Lucas, he called up one for his brother, and he killed one. He called up his son, his first gobbler this year. Yeah. Great hunt.
Awesome.
Man, yeah.
8 years old.
8 years old, yeah.
8 years old. Making memories that'll last a lifetime right there.
Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir.
Now, Lucas, were you hunting out of a ground blind with your son or just on the ground? How did that happen? Tell us a little bit about your hunt there with your son.
We was on the ground, just out, it was backed up in in the brush good with his head good, and he gobbled come in there right. He shot him, but he was a lot further than what I was. I couldn't see him at the time, and I was thinking maybe 30 yards from just listening to him gobble, and I probably wouldn't have told my little boy to shoot him. A little 410 with that TSS, but he was at 52 yards.
Oh, wow.
But I just told him whenever he see him, you kill him. And I was thinking
that technology's come a long way, man. That tungsten will reach out and touch them, but we got to figure out something about that tungsten because, boy, it is high as a kite.
when you're sighting in your guns, I don't know how you guys feel, but I start off with the cheap bird shot,
Me too.
and then whenever I think I got it down in just right, then I let the TSA or TSS go one time because every time I pull that trigger, it's like $12 or $13.
Yes, sir.
But you can't beat it. I mean, the reach out ability. Can you imagine? 20 years ago, us hunting with a 410 and killing birds at 50 yards.
No, I can't, Greg. No. It's amazing. It is amazing.
One of those things, man, that we got technology and new optics and all these things. And we get a lot of guys. You know how it is. Whether we're disabled hunters or not, everybody says if you use optics, you're not really shotgun hunters, and we're quick to beat our brother up, man. But we got to be better about lifting them up and being able to bring, like Lucas' son, bring tomorrow's youth into being conservationists. And we don't want anybody to hear these podcasts and think that we're just indiscriminate killers because here's the thing: most of the time, your hunters know the creatures a lot better than everybody else, and we spend more time doing it. So I just enjoy being in nature. That's and right. I know you guys heart, but Coy, man, I know you were able to call in another bird for somebody. Tell us a little bit about that situation.
Well, Lucas he was with me on that hunt too. We had carried another brother's son. He'd never been turkey hunting, and we went down on a piece of property I had permission to hunt, and I hadn't even been down there to check it, but I knew that gobblers had been there. I'd killed gobblers there and seen them there most every year. And opening morning, we got down there and got in the blind with Bryson and got set up. And boy, when he hammered, he was right there on the dam of that old pond, and we had him in the blind, and the gobbler pitched out, and he come right up to the decoy, and Bryson got to see him gobble and see him spit and drum, and oh man, it was a great hunt. And he shot him with a 410, and that was his first gobbler. So it's been a blessing to try to get these youngsters, involved in it. It has.
That is so exciting to see, up close. Them hammering the call back to you and strutting and all puffed up. And once you see that live and in person, I don't see how you can not be hooked on turkey hunting. That animal's responding to you, and you're bringing him in. I mean, it's not by luck that it appears there. And Coy, you said about hunting out of the blind. Is there a particular style blind you like, or how do you normally hunt out of a blind?
Well, it's according if I'm by myself or if I'm going with someone. But any of the big, like the Barronnett, Barronnett, whatever it is, they got a good blind that I believe the back of it raises up,
right,
and you can just roll in and let it fall behind you. I've used that, and I've used just the regular Ameristep little pop-up blind earlier years. But I've got a three-sided blind. It's a hub style that I like to use right now because that way it seems like I can hear more and I can see more and I'm not closed in. And if I get ready to move, then I can snatch that thing and move if I have to.
Lucas brought up something just a minute ago. You can get in and brush yourself in good. Hiding these big doggone chairs is difficult. Anything I can kind of buffer out there. I bought one of the new three-sided Cabela's pop-ups that they're doing in that Timberland
Yeah.
look. That thing was super easy because it just pops up, one stake holds it in place, and
Yeah.
I can get behind it enough just to hide some of my movement. And these chairs, like I said, they're just so bulky. It's kind of hard to make that go away in nature.
Yeah.
Just like Coy, I started off with those pop-up blinds from Ameristep, and they pop up and you can get them up. But man, and you guys try to put one of those things back in the bag.
Good luck.
Yeah. I
If
can't.
if you don't know what you're doing on that, it folds up like a taco and then a figure eight.
Yeah.
My wife can fold one of those things in the dark like a fitted sheet and get it back in the bag. But I've gone out with a few hunting buddies, and we've spent a half hour, maybe 40 minutes trying to get that daggone thing back in the bag. But it's a cheap, easy blind to throw up. But those Barronetts with that garage door on the back, I've never had a ground blind easier, to operate with my wheelchair. Just big blinds, and they got the see-through sides now. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, but you can see all around you now, which is kind of cool.
That makes it even nicer, Greg. You can actually, you're not limited to what you can see in them blinds. Then on either side, you can see all the way around you.
We can't move to turn to shoot them, Coy, but we can see them, right?
That's true. That is true.
Well, have you guys ever done this? I had a bird hang up last year. Couldn't get him in no closer than 75 yards. So the guy that was with me, I had him just pick up the blind, and we slow walked it closer to them.
Wow.
I mean, it'll hide your movement, so we do what we got to do. Sometimes it's about dumb luck.
Exactly.
You were reaping that bird in a blind. You were just moving your shanty all the way across the field.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never heard a story like that. That's got to be one of the best things, that you were just creeping up on it with your ground blind.
It's like a turtle on the move, man. We just picked that thing up and inched on.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Just go slow, man. Just go slow.
Coy, do you use any adaptive equipment like mounts, or I know Mike and I use the Be Adaptive triggers. Do you use anything like that, or are you able to pull it on your own, or how do you pull the trigger?
I've got that gun mount that Robin Clark.
Yeah.
I got that gun mount. It holds the gun for me, which is really nice because I can, with the shotgun, I can shoot left-handed or right-handed with it, and pulling it, I stick my index finger through that trigger guard and just roll it back, roll my wrist back, and with that shotgun, at 30 yards, 40 yards, the pattern's good enough that it'll kill him. But I try to always put that bead on them waddles and just take a deep breath before I squeeze the trigger, man.
Yes, sir.
It's all about trigger control, and I'm like you. I can pull the trigger with my thumb. I just feel like that bite trigger or that sip and puff gives me just a split second that I don't have to worry about pulling off target. I don't want to wound an animal by any stretch.
No.
I know you fellas don't either.
No.
But man, I tell you, I shoot a similar shotgun block that you have with Robin Clark help you make, and man, they make all the difference.
Well, it takes a lot off of me as far as trying to hold the gun, and I mean, you just swivel it, left or right, and I have. I actually killed a gobbler, Osceola. I killed him left-handed because he come up on the right side. My buddy said, "What you going?" We got down there that morning. My buddy said there was gobbling down to our left, and so I turned that way. And he said, "Now, what you gonna do if one comes from the right?" I said, "I'll just shoot him left-handed." Well, I was just joking. Well, it turned out, sure enough, just 20 minutes. He said, "Don't move." He says, "You gobbler to our right," and took me forever to finally turn my head and look. And sure enough, he's standing there in full strut looking at decoys. But there was a mound of dirt, and I said, "Lord, if you just let that bird go behind that mound of dirt, I sure would appreciate it, because that'd give me time to get my gun, which I had pointed left. I'll swivel it around," and I did. He went behind that mound of dirt, and boy, when he did, I did a quick shuck and jive and got that gun around. And when he came out, I let him come up to the decoys. I shot him left-handed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, Robin Clark, he's the director of the Virginia Wheel and Sportsman. And I think Robin's been a quadriplegic. Is it 50 years, Mike? The Robin's been injured. And
Yeah.
He's just a
that
little bit
guy,
longer, than
he,
Coy.
he has done more for disabled hunting than most, folks, including myself, would ever dream about.
Yeah.
Robin runs a lot of hunts in the state of Virginia, and he's always been such a willing voice
Yes.
to reach out and give advice or to help people with equipment. So we've had Robin on the show before, and we have to have him back again. But if you're not familiar with Robin Clark, look him up on Facebook and Virginia Wheel and Sportsman.
Yeah, Robin's a blessing. He is. He's got a lot of knowledge and wisdom too about what what works for him, and he's tried so many different things so he can try to point you in a different direction. Maybe if you're having difficulties or need to try something else. But yeah.
That's what's beautiful about being able to do these podcasts and just, the disability community in general. It's a very small organization, very small group when it gets down to the nitty gritty. And it's even smaller when you start looking at the number of quads that want to get out there and hunt and put the work in, being cold, wet, and all that. That's the opposite of what our bodies are built for anymore. But yeah, man, being able to meet up with guys like Robin, he's been a sounding board for me for my 30 years of paralysis, and just being able to reach out and talk. That's what's awesome about this, is being able to team up with guys like you, Coy, and Greg, and being able to tag team with other people across our nation and just see ways they do it. And we got three guys in here. All three of us shoot similar but different. And that's what it's about, individualistic approach. You have to find what works for you.
You said a mouthful there, Mike. And, we talked about the 410, the shotgun with the TSS loads. And, I've used the 410, I've used the 20 gauge. I, started off with the 12 gauge growing up, but it's just a little bit too much recoil for me. And with the new technology, the new shells, and, we always pattern our shotguns. I'm able to go down to a 410 or a 20 gauge. But my passion has always been crossbows. And I went out with my crossbow this year and went out the last couple of years using my crossbow. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for somebody else, or we can always change it up from year to year. We don't have to, do the same thing all the time. As long as we're out there sighting in our choice of weapon, whether it be a 410 or a crossbow or what have you, as long as we're making a good, ethical, clean shot, getting out there, spending time on the range with family and friends, and making sure that we have a good distance. And my distance might be a lot shorter than yours, Coy, where I feel comfortable shooting. You talk to some guys and they're shooting 50 yards, and maybe I'm comfortable at 30. That's all an individual choice that we have to make, and be responsible shooters and responsible sportsmen.
Well, I'm like you. I do enjoy the crossbow. I was able to harvest a 6-point this year with my crossbow, and then an 8 with my rifle, and then a gobbler, during turkey season. And as soon as it went out, I picked the reel up, and I've been catching some bass and some brim. I'm passionate about being outdoors, man. I think if we had more youngins in the outdoors instead of leaving them inside on the iPads and man, it'd be a lot better off.
Yes, sir.
Coy, I know you and I, we get I'm blessed. I get to chat with you a good bit and all that. And I know a new adventure you got coming up, and I don't know if you want to share any of that, but man, that the pontoon fishing is getting in there, man. And tell us a little bit, if you will, about the new pontoons that you're working on.
Yes, sir. We're close. I've got it here at the house. Got it under the carport. I can see it, and I got to get the Millennium seats put on. But we took one side, and the guy that carried it to, cut it down and made like a rail gate just to lift up, so I can put my ramp on, that 6-foot aluminum ramp, and just roll on it in my chair and put the rail down. And we're ready to lock and load and go to ripping lips.
Man, for those folks that have not fished off a pontoon boat in a wheelchair, that is the way to go. I mean, you're stable. You can tie down your chair. For me, I mean, never get on a boat or never get in a vehicle that you're not tied down. Safety has to be, the utmost importance. And along with that, if you're tying your chair onto that pontoon, make sure you don't have your seatbelt on, so that if something happens, you're not the anchor of the boat. But if you're not experienced, or if you haven't experienced fishing off a pontoon boat, I highly recommend it. Stable platform. It's a great way to get on the water. And we're looking forward to seeing pictures and video of you out using yours, Coy.
I'm looking forward to making some. I ain't kidding you.
Yeah, it's one of those blessings. We're adapting a different pontoon boat, and you can, as quads, we can set those up to drive pretty easy as well. But I like the aspect of being able to float. You don't necessarily have to cast. You can pretty much get over the top of brim or crappie or catfish, drop a line down. So if you got a quad that can't really cast, it gives them a stable platform to be able to get out on the water and really see life from a different vantage point.
Coy, are you putting a canopy over the pontoon to get a little sunshade? Because I imagine being out on the water in Alabama, I mean, you got to be getting tore up with the sun and sunburn and heat. I mean, is that a concern for you with a canopy?
I've fished on boats down here, Greg, and where I fish at on the river, we can almost always find a shade. But I've got a bimini top. I'll see if I'm going to be able to use this one. I hope to, because there are some lakes around that I would like to fish, and you shade it and it's good there as it is on the river. But I hope to use one. If I don't use it, I'm more than likely going to put a piece of PVC pipe, another adaptation, and that way I can take an umbrella. If I get hot, roll that big umbrella, patio umbrella, and stick it in PVC pipe and have
yes, sir. Mike, I know that you do a lot of fishing. I'm not much of a fisherman anymore, but with your cooling vest, you want to talk a little bit about how that's opened up the outdoors for you, Mike?
Right. That's one of the things I was getting ready to say, Greg, is you and Coy were talking about heat and sun, and as quads, we have a lot of problems with being able to dissipate hot or cold. Our bodies just don't respond to it as well. I'm like Coy, I wear long sleeve shirts even in the summertime just to keep the direct sun off of me. And if I can find shade, that's what I want to do. Or, if needs be, we'll run up and down the lake a little bit more just to get, water in my face, wind in my face. But the cooling vests, man, they make all the difference. I can throw that thing on, have it touch bare skin with those frozen packs in there. They're not touching me. They're going through the materials on the vest, but they bring my temperature down where I can stay out a lot longer, and just be able to stay in the game. And that's what it's about. It's finding new technology that allows you to adapt to Mother Nature. Because here's the kicker: we can't defeat Mother Nature. We just need to try to work with it. And so I know, Coy, you do something like that as well, don't you? You try a cooling vest or maybe some misting stuff.
I got the frog togs that you can wet and keep in the cooler, and just as long as I can get it up on my neck, and let it hang there and wipe my face off, just something to stay cool. Yeah.
We had talked with your other buddy Jeremy, Mike, and you remember he was telling us about a mister that he puts in a 5-gallon bucket, and I guess fills up the bucket with ice and water, and he got it at Home Depot or Lowe's, and that's another good thing that people can use, is one of those battery powered misters. Anything cool on your neck, and of course I always wear a big boonie hat. If I'm such an attractive man in my boonie hat and my cooling vest and sunscreen on my nose. It's a wonder I don't catch all the fish out there, with all that preparation.
I hear you, Greg. But you do what you have to do, man, to be able to withstand that heat.
Yep.
It's rough.
A
It's
lot of
all about
folks,
setting that fashion statement.
Yeah.
well, a lot of folks don't realize that as people with disabilities, we can't control our body temperature. You know, we don't sweat below our injury line. So we
Right.
have to be concerned about the heat just as much as when we're hunting in the fall,
True.
that we need a, Mr. Buddy heater or some way to stay warm in the ground blind, because I can go from being hot to being cold really quick. And if I get cold, my arms seize up. I'm not able
Yeah.
to move my mount around or anything like that. So temperature control for people with disabilities, it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's huge, Greg. Like I said, whether it's in the winter and we're so cold natured, we got to have the buddy heater, or here comes Mr. Summer, and you got to have something to stay cool. You got to be able to stay cool to be able to stay out.
Yes, sir.
You know, some of the obstacles that we face as hunters beforehand was one thing. Now we've got a whole different set of barriers as disabled
Yeah.
hunters. But Coy, what type of chair do you normally use that can really get you out and about? I know a lot of people are trying to go to track chairs and bounders and different things, and
Yeah.
insurance doesn't cover certain. But what's your go-to to get you out there to get you back home safe?
The big bounder works for me best. I I had a Quickie P300 for years, and you couldn't hardly tear it up, Mike. And I think that was the reason I quit making it.
Ah,
Let me make something that you can tear up, so you got to order parts for.
right.
But I had one guy that on the wheelchair shop. He said, "You try that big boundary." He said, "You like a Quickie P300?" He said, "I think you get in a big boundary, you'll never drive anything else." And he's been right. Par for the course. I mean, I like it. I know with everything we're gonna have something that we would change if we could. Um, First they were belt driven, now they're chain driven, and it's rear wheel drive. But the motor's so huge and so big till I've put it in some places I really shouldn't have, but and it's went, man. It's a beast.
Coy, recently we've had David Dahl on the podcast, and he's been running that Magic Mobility 360. And
Yeah.
Magic Mobility's come out with these 4-wheel drive chairs that basically have ATV wheels on them.
Yes.
And these things look like they'll go almost dang near anywhere, And uh, I think they're a little bit more comfortable ride than the track chairs. But of course, you can't turn them around in a house or in a vehicle is
Right.
quite as easily as a track chair with a zero turn. But I've been hoping to experience one of those chairs that were almost like little quads, but wheelchairs.
Yeah. And another reason that I'm in the boundaries, I can actually drive from it. See, and
Yep.
I that's the downfall to me of the track chair and that mobility chair. There is
Yeah.
you can't drive from it. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to cart it or trailer it along and be able to transfer into it and then get back out of it. And so with the bounder, I load up once I get out of bed. Scott gets me out of bed and gets me up and dressed. I'm out the door. I'm gone. I drive from it and get to where I'm going to hunt or to fish, and I can get out and go. And there's no transferring.
Yep.
Yeah, we're blessed, man, that we get to try the track chairs and the
Yes.
street mates and all that. But Coy, man, you just hit it on the head, dude. We've been hurt a long time. I know what my shoulders are limited to. I know
Yeah.
what my safety is. I love hunting on my own.
Yeah.
But if I can drive, that is huge.
Yes.
That bounder will fit in your truck and you're able to go, and you're already in the vehicle that's going to get you out there. But it's
Yeah.
not just about the adventure. It's getting home.
Right.
Getting out safely, getting back safely, and as both of you have said, limiting the transfers, because
Yeah.
even if we're able to do it ourselves, which we can't, but we're also asking somebody else to move us.
Right.
And if I can limit my wife transferring me to twice a day, once in the morning and once at night, that's saving her back
Yeah.
and her shoulders lifting me. And getting me in and out of the chair. So every person needs to consider what works best for them, what they can afford, how they can do good pressure relief. You know, a lot of the chairs don't have the expensive rehab seating to be able to do weight shifts. So all that has to come into consideration.
True, Greg. That's true. But Lucas will tell you, he'll text me during the day, during turkey season. If he's at work, he'll text me and say, "Hey, are they gobbling? Did you get one?" Because he knows I do. I hunt a lot by myself, but you know, opportunity I can. I like hunting with him and my other brothers. You know, it's always best when somebody's there to enjoy the excitement with you. But you know, when that can't happen, then I don't want to sit here in the house and wish I could go. Man, I want to go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Man, you know, you just said a mouthful, Coy. It's all about being able to go when we can go, how we can go. We love to get out and share the memories, but you know, as disabled hunters, sometimes our time is limited because we have other things that we've got to do or we need help. But man, something you just said, everybody needs to do it, able body or not. Let other people know where you're going to be, just in case something happens. Make sure that somebody knows where you're at. It's good to go if you can get out there on your own, and by all means, go all you can and live life and enjoy it. But let somebody know about where you're going to be just in case. Accidents do happen.
And Mike, you brought up a good point. You know, growing up, we didn't have access to cell phones as much. You know, you would have to tell somebody, "Hey, I'm going to be home at a certain time." And if you got a deer, say in the evening, and you know you were running a couple of maybe an hour late or so, people started to worry about you, or you had to get to a payphone and let people know. But right now, I do a lot of things by voice using Siri and things, and I even take my cell phone, I just Velcro it right to my gun mount, and I'm able to send text or be able to call and things like that. And that makes me a lot more independent. That down at the farm, I'm able to go out and sit by myself, but still be in contact. And I feel a lot safer being able to use my cell phone. So let people know your plan and use the technology that is available if you have cell coverage, you know.
Yeah. I use that little app Live 360, and my son has it, so he'll text me and say, "Hey, I see you at such place where they gobbling," and so I'll usually tell my brothers, you know, where I'm going and at the time I'm returning, that's dependent upon that old gobbler. If he
100%.
you know,
if they don't see your blue dot moving in like an hour or so, maybe they need to come check on you. Is that what you're saying, Coy?
Yes, sir. Well, no, don't come check on me. I'll text him.
Right. Don't go messing me up.
Don't slip up on me.
You know, technology's come a long way, and you know, there's a lot of go-tos out there. Is there any kind of tech that you guys share that is your go-to? One of my biggest, man, is a thermocell. During the doggone early parts of the year, I want to chase those birds, but sometimes the mosquitoes are rivaling the size of some of the turkeys we're facing.
Yeah, we use thermocell. We do, Mike. I got a little old rope tied through that thing, and I'll fire it up and drop it on the joy box and let it go. And without that, and carry a little old can of off or something like that, just something to try to help it, because some of the places we go around them creeks and all, man, the mosquitoes are bad.
Yeah.
Guys, it's so funny you bring up thermocells and off. Me and my buddy Dave Hall, we used to go fishing in Canada and would camp for a week, you know. And if you didn't have that deed on you, man, those mosquitoes would just tear you up. You couldn't stay out, you know, camping and stuff. But this past weekend was Memorial Day weekend, and I had Beth spray that off deep woods on my good hat, not on one of my outdoor hats. And we got home the other night, and that hat stunk like DEET so much. I was like, "Baby, you got to put this ball cap in the wash. I can't be wearing this around." I didn't have the thermocell, Mike, so I was using the old school DEET.
Oh,
And
boy.
I
Yeah.
said, man, this ball cap smells so bad, honey. You got to put it in the wash for me.
That's one of those things, man. We joke around about it, but during deer season, their nose is one of their biggest safety
Yeah.
factors. But man, if I can get away with it during turkey season or fishing,
Oh, yeah.
skin so soft, man, I'm putting that stuff on
Yeah.
anything to keep these bugs off me.
Yeah.
Because they're not only a detractant, but doggone, man, those things will just about carry you off if you don't watch it.
That's true, Mike.
And when you're mentioning about deer and their sense of smell, I was always resistant to use the Mister Heater.
Yeah.
My buddy gas propane heaters. I thought that would spook the deer. Well, man, I'll tell you, I got that ground blind as warm as my living room. I'm about 74 degrees year round, and I got deer literally 5 feet away.
Yeah.
I always thought it would spook them, but I'm not seeing anything now.
No.
Using bug repellent or the thermocell. If you're in a tree stand, I've never had them, smell the thermocell, that kind of thing. But the heaters, they work. Doesn't bother deer, any of that I've found.
No, it doesn't. I use a buddy heater too, Greg. I don't think it bothers them at all.
No. Is there any other type of equipment, Coy, that you use, just for creature comforts or something to keep you out there? I know you're like me. You're a snack man. I'm like a 2-year-old. I'm gonna carry some snacks in the field.
I do. I carry plenty of drinks and snacks, because I never know how long I'm gonna be out there, and I don't want to wind up. Boy, I need something to drink, or boy, I could sure use a snack. No, I just reach right in the bag and get it. I got it.
Yeah.
As long as I need to, and want to a lot of times.
Guys, we're always looking for sponsors, so I know our podcast is getting towards the end, so we'll put it out there. Coy, favorite snack? I'm hoping to get sponsored by Skittles and beef jerky. There's Valor Snacks here in PA. These guys are veteran owned and they're making the best beef jerky. I'm hoping to get some Skittles and beef jerky as sponsors for fall. But what's your favorite snack? And then Mike, what's your favorite snack?
I like the nutty bars. I like the cashews, and the peanut stuff, and the little orange crackers with the peanut butter. Just stuff that I know can last a while.
I'm like Coy, man. And two, I take it to the aspect of deer like peanuts as well. So maybe that'll draw them in a little bit more. But maybe Lance Crackers is listening, and we can get some of that cheese on cheese cracker, cheese on peanut butter crackers out there. But I carry lots of peanuts or trail mix or something easy to get to. But the kicker is, being able to stay out there. It's difficult for us to get in the woods. And so I want to make that an all-day thing. I'm not like most hunters. Well, I don't want to say that because everybody's different, but I don't go in with the aspect of being out of the woods by 9 a.m. When I go in, I'm there to hunt, and it might be all day.
Yeah. I don't really hunt the mornings anymore. It's just too difficult getting up at 3. Having my wife get up early, having her get her shower, and then get me up. So we're afternoon hunters. I'll usually go out maybe about 3 o'clock and stay till dark. And having the right snack hits the spot. Up north here, they're not used to the peanuts like down south. Maybe that's a southern thing. But if you guys say peanuts are the thing, I might be giving that a try with Mr. Planner next fall.
Yes, sir. Try it, Greg. I don't think you regret it.
That's one of the go-tos, man. And that's another thing we'll have to have Coy on and being able to talk about it. That brings up a whole different aspect. My wife has to get up at 3 a.m. because it takes a good solid hour to get me up, get me in the get me dressed, get my rifle rest on, and all that before you head. And so we got to beat the daylight, and that's one of the kicker. You only have so much time to get in the woods. It takes a long time to get there.
When we would go on hunts, Mike, and the outfitters saying, well, we need to be out there by 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's my wife getting up at 2 because, she's got to get ready, then get me ready. Then we got to drive to the blind. Then we're hunting all day. I mean, it wore us out. You spending 12 hours in a ground blind, but 4 hours of preparation before that.
Yeah, that's true, Greg.
And I know Coy's seen it too. It just, these chairs, even if we go in with no light or, red light or whatever, we have to kind of slow roll them because it's not like walking, where you can tiptoe in there. These chairs are loud, they're cumbersome. But then being able to kind of inch them in there without making a bunch of racket.
Yeah.
But man, we wear and tear on our buddies and our spouses and everybody else to get in the woods. But that's another awesome blessing, is just to be able to develop a relationship with somebody that knows how to hook up, a sip and puff, or and that takes time. So if we've got some new guys and girls that are wanting to get out there hunting, expand your community, open yourself up enough that you can tell some of your buddies what your needs are.
Right.
But Coy and I have had this discussion before. Be careful asking some of your buddies, because they may be beating your door down to try to get you out there all the time.
well, that's a good problem to have, boys. Is somebody knocking on your door to get you out hunting?
You ain't wrong.
That's a blessing for sure. And Coy, we appreciate you coming on again, and we're going to have you back on before deer season starts. And I wish you the best with your pontoon and getting that all set up. And we expect to see some fish pictures here shortly.
All right, my buddies. Well, I sure appreciate y'all having me on, Greg and Mike. It's always a blessing. Always a blessing.
We couldn't do it without you, my man. And keep on inspiring so many others. Coy, I truly appreciate you. I'll never be able to thank you enough for all you do for me and so many others. But thank you for taking extra time just to come on and chat with us, man.
It's my blessing, brother. My blessing. Love you guys.
Love you guys too.
You too.